Between 89 and 96, he killed 52 people, including 11 children. The youngest victim was only 3 months old, and he raped his victims in the mid-90s. He topped the ranking of the most bloodthirsty killers of the last 2 centuries and was among the 10 bloodiest killers in the world. Onoprienko's words, "I feel that I consider this moment to be something between a human and a robot because he has done a lot of work that must be fulfilled by robots, while at the same time feeling like some kind of experimenter on himself and on people." Onoprienko was born on June 25, 1959, in the small village of Lasky, Zhytomyr region, Ukraine. Onoprienko's childhood was far from happy. He was deprived of a family, and his father suffered from alcoholism. His father left the family when the future maniac's destiny had not yet unfolded, and 1 year later, 3 years later, Onoprienko's mother died of heart failure. Onoprienko and his older brother Valentin lived with their grandparents. When Onoprienko turned 7, he was placed in an orphanage in Malyn, Zhytomyr region. After leaving the orphanage, he attended a technical school in Malyn to study forestry but never graduated. After his 2nd year, Onoprienko joined the army, serving near Leningrad, and returned to Ukraine after completing his military service. He then enrolled in a nautical school in Odessa, where he engaged in sports and practiced karate until 1986. At that time, he began working on voyages aboard a passenger ship. During this period, Onoprienko met Irina, a waitress on a tourist ship, who later became his wife. They had a son named Dmitro. Onoprienko became involved in smuggling and theft and was released in 1986. Anatoly secured a job as a firefighter and was later promoted to the position of commander of the fire department in Dneprobrudny, Zaporizhzhia Oblast. Anatoly then met Serhiy Rohozin, a friend of his wife, and an Afghanistan veteran who was married with a young daughter. Onoprienko and Rohozin jointly purchased a red Vaz 2109 car and ventured into a small business, specifically selling vegetables and fruits in 1989. Onoprienko's idea, however, took a dark turn. Instead of focusing on legitimate business, Rogozin suggested an easier way to make money, robbing people who were tired and decided to sleep in their cars. This marked the beginning of the Ukrainian beast's bloody path on June 14, 1989. In the Sinelnikovsky district, Dnipropetrovsk region, engaged in robberies with his accomplice Serhiy Rogozin. Their first victims were a husband and wife sleeping in a car. According to the robbers' plan, Onoprienko robbed a parked car while Rogozin drove up on a signal and took Anatoly away first. Onoprienko shot a sleeping Oleg Melnik, then ordered the woman to get out of the car and fired a shot that killed her. After the massacre, he dragged the bodies to a forest belt and burned the victim's car, claiming 2 lives and 30 rubles. A month later, the same scenario unfolded when the Vasylyuks pulled over to rest on the side of the road. Onoprienko noticed people sleeping in the car, and as Vasylyuk woke up and grabbed the barrel of the gun, he was shot a second later. On August 16th of the same year, Onoprienko and Rogozin committed their 3rd bloody crime in Novohorivka, Zaporizhzhia region. The robbers were returning at night from Odessa, where they had sold stolen goods from their previous crime. On the side of the road, they noticed a Vaz 2108 belonging to Rogozin, who was driving the car. Onoprienko stopped the car, took out the rifle butt that he always carried with him from the trunk, and said, "I'm going for a walk." Onoprienko approached him and said, "I've done enough. I've shot 5 people." He asked Rogozin to drive half a kilometer away, which Rogozin did. The victims of this horrific act were 5 people, the Podolyak and Zalishak families, including an 11-year-old boy. Onoprienko's asking price for these 5 lives was 50 rubles. Onoprienko located a clearing in the woods suitable for his plans. Allegedly acting on his own, he callously pulled the bodies out of the car, dumped them in a pile, poured gasoline on them, and set them ablaze. Rogozin, unable to bear witness, stood aside as Onoprienko attempted to drive away in the victim's Zhiguli car. This raised suspicion when the traffic police arrived and initiated a pursuit. Onoprienko managed to escape, subsequently burning the car in 1989. By the end of that year, Onoprienko had claimed the lives of 9 people. Onoprienko justified that he did not intend to kill people, claiming it was just a simple robbery. Unfortunately, Onoprienko's bloody series ended only temporarily. Fearing that law enforcement was searching for him, he fled to Europe, using fake documents. He was eventually deported when authorities confirmed his presence in Europe. Onoprienko could have continued killing there, but he didn't have a permanent stay in Europe. In 1994, he staged a performance at the airport, standing all day on one leg, which drew attention from the police. Pretending to be mentally unstable, he was sent to a psychiatric hospital for 3.5 months. After realizing that no one was actively pursuing him, he was discharged from the hospital. Onoprienko then lived with his older brother in the village of Narodishi, Zhytomyr region. During this time, Onoprienko stole a friend's gun, modifying it into a sawed-off shotgun, and acquired a knife that he would later use for his heinous crimes. He frequently changed his place of residence and invited his cousin Petro to stay with him. However, Petro's wife insisted that Onoprienko move out, expressing fear that he was hiding the gun under the bed. Petro introduces Anatoly to 34-year-old Anna Kozak. Anna works as a hairdresser and has her own apartment in Yavoriv, Lviv Oblast. She is a mother to a 6-year-old son named Ihor and a 15-year-old daughter named Kristina from her ex-husband, from whom she divorced due to his alcoholism. Anna shares about their relationship, saying, "We realized that we were made for each other. He washed me in the bath, gave me flowers when he met me after work, told me how much he loved me in 6 languages, and was very kind to the children, treating them better than their own father." Unaware of Anatoly's dark side, Anna remains oblivious to his criminal activities. This time, the Ukrainian beast acts without a single drop of pity for its victims. Anatoly Onoprienko begins his new series of crimes in western Ukraine on December 23, 1995, in the village of Hamarnya. Anatoly broke the windows of a house on the outskirts of the city, shooting Vadim Zaichenko through the window. Another shot hit Vadim's wife, who came out to see what happened. Though she didn't die immediately, she pleaded with him not to shoot. Onoprienko made his way through their children, killing the 6-year-old and strangling the 3-month-old. He took rings, jewelry, and warm clothes from the house, intending to give them to Anna and her children for Christmas. He lied, claiming he had bought them at the market. It's easy to kill your son, whom you gave birth to, but to kill an innocent child is very difficult. So, I think that it was such a powerful psychological experiment, and how well I fit into this role that I still consider myself to be just the executor of some very serious task like this, Onoprienko stated. Anna celebrated New Year's Eve 1996 with her friends, and Anatoly was not at home because he was away. Bratkovichi, Lviv region, is located half an hour by car from Anna's apartment. Unfortunately, Petro and Maria Kruchkov, Anna's relatives, never had the chance to celebrate the New Year of '96. Onoprienko had other plans for their lives, robbing and murdering the Krychkovsky family, along with Lesia's sisters, Marusia and Marusia Galushka, both 19 years old. Onoprienko killed Petro with a shot through the window of his house. While hanging new curtains, one bullet struck him in the head, and another hit Maria's body in the chest. Both victims were shot in the head. The finger on which Maria wore her wedding ring was severed. Lesia, Marusia's sister, was discovered in the kitchen with her ears ripped out, and her earrings were found next to her body near the house. 2 more bodies of men who were unfortunate bystanders after the attack were discovered. I rarely read newspapers and don't know what's going on. When my daughter told me that everyone at her school was talking about some crazy killer, I advised her to be careful, Anatoly also warned. The unknown maniac is nicknamed the Terminator by law enforcement due to his cold-bloodedness. Only 5 days have passed since the Terminator struck again on Christmas '96 in Enerhodar, Zaporizhia region, Ukraine. On the roadside after a car breakdown, Odintsov and Dolinina were killed as they waited for assistance to repair the car. After the murder, Onoprienko engaged in a gruesome act with the corpse of the murdered woman. He then proceeded to repair the car and drove away. Onoprienko continued his killing spree, taking the lives of 2 more victims, Rybalka and Garmash, in Vasilkivsky district, Zaporizhzhia region, Ukraine. Just a few hours later, he claimed 3 more lives, making repairs to his damaged shoes and leather coat once again. A severed finger, adorned with a wedding ring, was found. The beast then noticed a woman with bags, firing 2 shots. Citizen Kocherigina succumbed, losing her wedding ring, a pair of shoes, and 2 bags of food. The price of 8 lives for Anatoly Onoprienko. On January 17, 96, Onoprienko returned to Bratkovichi and killed a couple, their 6-year-old son and elderly parents. While leaving the city, the beast noticed 2 witnesses and killed them. Only now, in January 96, law enforcement officers combined all the episodes into a series of murders. Locals began sleeping with axes under their pillows and patrolling the streets in an operation to find and apprehend the maniac. Several thousand law enforcement officers and military personnel were involved, promising a monetary reward for those who found or captured him. The police stopped Onoprienko several times for checks, but unfortunately, he was released each time. On January 30, 96, Onoprienko shot a trucker. The wounded man screamed for help and ran towards his house. Onoprienko killed him in a second manner. A woman from a neighboring house ran out at the sound of gunshots. Onoprienko threatened her and asked where she hid the money. After shooting her, he went to her house, where her children, aged 7 and 6, were. He shot the older one and asked the younger one where his mother hid the money. In Malin, Zhytomyr region, Onoprienko shot the Dubchak family and their 9-year-old child with a hammer. The beast committed its last murder on March 22, 1996, when Onoprienko killed the Novusad family, including their 10-year-old daughter, who was stabbed from the stomach to the throat, and the deaf sister of the murdered woman. On March 27th, law enforcement officers detained 29-year-old car mechanic Yuri Mazola on suspicion of committing a series of murders. He was pointed out by a neighbor for a monetary reward. Whoever finds the killer of Bratkivsky will receive $50,000. Yuri was imprisoned in the SBU detention center, where he was tortured for 3 days. Tragically, Yuri Mazola died of mechanical asphyxiation. He never signed a confession to a series of murders. Only 2 weeks later, the police detained the real maniac. On April 14, 1996, in the apartment where Onoprienko lived with his mistress, investigators found evidence, namely 122 stolen items. In total, Onoprienko committed 52 horrific murders and was sentenced to death. However, after Leonid Kuchma signed a law abolishing the death penalty in Ukraine, his sentence was commuted to life imprisonment on August 27, 2013.